I have a couple of trickier questions here to test your understanding. The first question is, consider this case. We have a class called ArrayMap that's part of the Syntax3.map package, and we have a package private variable called size. Over here we have a package known as Illuminati, so named because it's going to peer inside of an ArrayMap, and it is going to have a class called ChattyMap, which extends ArrayMap. In this case, the ChattyMap, it's just like a normal ArrayMap, except it has a method that's able to print its own size. And so as you know, of course, any class which extends another actually inherits a variable, any variable, all variables from its parent classes. In this case, he's just printing out his size. So the question for you now is, will this compile? And I'll wait here for you to answer. So does it work? What happens when you try and compile? Well, this is the way the compiler thinks. It says, okay, here's some code, print size, print line size. Is that a field? Yes, I have a field called size. Okay, what's its type? Or sorry, what's its access modifier? Package private. What is its, is this ChattyMap part of the same class as the ArrayMap class that the size belongs to? No. Okay, so next we consider the package. Is it part of the same package? Illuminati Syntax3 map? No, it's not. Okay, I go here and we see red. And so at this point, I don't even think anymore. I say I don't satisfy either of the criteria for this to be allowable. And so in this case, does not work. And so if we try to actually compile this, we get error. Size is not public, cannot be accessed from outside package. So package private, even though it is extending ArrayMap, it does not have the ability to access ArrayMap's instance variables. So this raises my second question for you, which is, why did the creators of Java decide to set up the access modifier table like this as opposed to this? In other words, why did they consider package members to be more secret than subclass members? As we note here, there's no way to say subclasses can do it and packages can't. So why do you think they decided to make this the table and not this? Okay, just a very tricky question, so I made it blue. So the answer is that it reflects the way that people write Java code. So extending classes that you didn't write and that you have nothing to do with is pretty normal. You may create a class called, I don't know, rotating array list. And it does all the normal things array lists do, and you add some extra method. Now, who maintains the array list code? It's someone at Oracle, presumably, that manages the java.util package. And your class, of course, is not going to be part of the java.util package, because to be part of that package, you'd have to have your code in the same folder and declare the heading, and you can't do it. I mean, I guess you could technically take the open source version of Java and modify java.util, but that would be a very strange thing to do. However, it is very normal in your own packages to extend classes that are part of, say, built-in packages or other libraries you find. Now, the other interesting point here is that packages are actually usually handled by the same people. So it's if you have a group of people that are working together on java.util, it's maybe 5 or 6 or 7 people in an office who all know each other. They talk. Maybe they're not co-located physically, but they at least communicate frequently, and they all have an idea of what the package is supposed to do. So for example, with an array list, you have no idea how it does resizing, what it looks like. You have a rough sense because it's called an array list or an array map. But if you didn't implement it, you don't really know the details. And thus, it's really not very safe to have something like this, where, okay, you're subclassing something so you can do just whatever you want, right? I mean, if somebody really feels like it's just a rare thing, right? We want encapsulation in Java. We like the idea of firm abstraction barriers. And what this does here, if we had something like this that says yes, that's basically lowering the abstraction barrier and inviting ourselves into danger. So you might say to yourself, well, why is it okay for packages? And again, the answer is simply that people who work on packages know each other, they know things about the implementation, and so this just reflects the way in which people work, right? So this table, it's sort of a people organizational thing.